and I'll try to make it as easy as possible, but not too simple. But you're all invited to be here at this time of global pandemic, and also perhaps a time of great love, that so many people are staying inside and out of concern for themselves and others. So very grateful that everyone is here. And this series will go on for at least 12 weeks. So hopefully you can join us for our Tuesday night classes. And this is a little different than our Sunday morning class, which is much easier. And also Sunday mornings are not series oriented, where this is series oriented. So this particular series, again, is called A Guide to the Bodhisattvas Way of Life. And we're using this text. This text is century. This is a classic text, probably one of the most predominant Acharya, Shantideva, Master Shantideva, and is a Dalai Lama's absolute favorite book. Also happens to be mine, and been very as is traditional. Usually you have a main text and then a commentary in our tradition, and the commentary I'll be using is from Patrul Rinpoche, one of the great teachers in our lineage. And you need to get this book unless you. So that's what this is when we use a commentary, and that's traditional to use a text, the root text, over and over again. And his main student, Kunzang Pelden, was the one who actually authored the text. But we'll put this all out in online, and I'll again state the text and how you can order it, and we'll go from there. We'll meet every week and we'll do meditations. And this week we'll focus on this in Tibetan is zopa. Say zopa means is the ability not to be irritated or angry. Again, I would like to do the traditional thing, and at least in a Buddhist group, and take refuge and request the teaching. So the first thing, if you will join me, if you know, if you don't, you can sit silently just for a minute or two, and we'll do the traditional prayers and aspirations. Enlightenment, by the power of the goodness that I do, in giving and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of it. By the power of the goodness that I do, in giving and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do, in giving and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. Chudan sogi chotnam lam, Jeonju badu datni chapsuji, Penji zonge drupa. Jeonju badu datni chapsuji, Dagi jinso jipe sonamki, Drola penji zonge drubarjo, Zonge judan sogi jotnamla, Jeonju badu datni chapsuji, Dagi jinso jipe sonamki, Drola penji zonge drubarjo. Now I slowed it down methodically so all of you could learn. In Tibetan it sounds a little bit different. It sounds like this, like Sangye Judan Zogi Jodnamla Jeonju Badu Dani Chapsuji Dagi Jinso Jipe Sonan Kiro. So you can all learn with me and be nice and methodical about it. So, and maybe melodic as well. So that's that. If you can follow along, I think this evening, and we'll take it nice and easy tonight, and I'll give you a different, slightly different meditation practice each week to do, but it is traditional in Buddhist. So many people want the meditation in the beginning, but if we did that, I think we would be not really following the tradition, and or also take advantage of our beautiful text, which I encourage you to do so. Okay, so because the meditations will come from the text. So I think the first thing is will be, again, I'm very traditional when it comes to teaching, and you have to first know the name of the text and who taught it. So let's text, this ancient text from around 700 AD is the guide to the Bodhisattvas Way of Life. The guide to the Bodhisattvas Way of Life. And in Sanskrit, maybe you can repeat after me, because this was originally the Sanskrit text is written in Nalanda University, in current Bihar state, northeastern India. And beautiful place. Avatara. Bodhicharya Avatara. Wonderful. And then the author, Shantideva, is much more than that, but Acharya Shantideva. 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 And so beautiful. But we're using the Padmakara translation because it keeps to the Sanskrit meter, is why we use this particular translation. It's very beautiful. Padmakara is like Padmakara, and the publisher is Shambhala. And you can download this text. I'm sure it's on almost any text site, like you can get off Amazon, I'm sure. And but if not, if you don't have any money or trying to save money right now, you can go online and get free samples, different translations. But the name of the text, again, A Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, since many of you are studying Tibetan. And this is what you study in a Tibetan monastery. That's one of the main texts, actually. And you usually have to beg your teacher in a monastery to teach this. And it's very long and very beautiful and very sweet, and considered to be a great treasure to receive this instruction. Anything that decent that comes out of my mouth, but my teachers, His Holiness Dalai Lama, His Holiness the Jala Karmapa, Ujin Tinley Dorje, and Gyaltsab Rinpoche, and many others who I've been privileged to receive their blessing and this teaching from. So, in Tibetan, please say Simpa, Chupa, La Jupa. Simpa Chupa La Jupa. That's the name in Tibetan, the Bodhicharya Avatara in Tibetan. Simpa. It's this way of learning and acting is what we have here. To act, how to think like a realized being, a bodhisattva thing, and that's what this course is all about. La Jupa. That what's most important in the Bodhisattva's way of life is that's most important, we call the four most important activities, is to study and contemplate the Dharma. And the Dharma here is not just Buddha Dharma, although that is specifically what it's referring to, but to reality itself. Not to think of it as a religion, but to literally think of it as the study of reality. And so to study the Dharma is the first time you practice. To contemplate what it is that you've heard and what you've studied, including meditation, things like that. Service of some kind. This is all our way of life. So studying Dharma, cultivating a daily practice, and then not just any type of meditation, but the third thing is a deep state of meditation. Hours a day in most of our community, but starting off, if you're new, even just a few minutes here and there, don't want to scare you. But and ideally you should be in retreat, and right now you have an excellent opportunity not to just sit home and panic and be online and causing just watching Netflix or something like that. But this is an excellent opportunity to deeply contemplate what is important, and hopefully none of us go back to the way things were, go back to the so-called normal. It was deeply unbalanced, and so maybe you can contemplate like this. And perhaps by yourself or with your family, or ability not to get angry or be frustrated or irritable, And so this, the way that Shantideva speaks, and I think maybe I should just read a few verses traditionally from the 6th chapter. If you're in our text, it's page 77, the Patience chapter, chapter 6. That all of the good works gathered in 1,000 ages, such as deeds of generosity, that there is no destructive emotion similar to anger, that there's no austerity to be compared with patience. So steep yourself, therefore, in patience in various ways, insistently. Those tormented by the pain of anger never know tranquility of mind. Strangers they will be to every pleasure. Dependent on their Lord for gracious gifts of honor and of wealth, will rise against and slay even a master filled with their wrath and their hate. So, Shantideva is speaking about the negative effects of anger. So let's start there, take some notes, and we'll talk about how anger is viewed traditionally. I know people in the West, especially, that we say that anger destroys. What Shantideva is getting at is that anger destroys our good karma. That a single occurrence of sharp anger can destroy who is realized or enlightened, of course, maybe a sacred or holy being, holy person. That the anger occurs when it's firmly planted in your mind. And this is a ruinous type of emotion, greater spiritual practice than this ability to remain patient, not to get irritated, not to get angry. And it's the mark of a great practitioner. It ruins our happiness. Anger and happiness do not go together simultaneously. It can ruin your relationships. At anger, you do not have peace. It can ruin your happiness, your joyful, your pleasantness. It upsets you physically, prevents you from reaching and can throw you off balance rather easily. It begins with being upset. Useless. Destroys you, destroys your own happiness, destroys or not. In your life, if you can look back, rewind the tape of your life, your mind, and think of a relationship that's been harmed. And not necessarily even outwardly, but sometimes just cold anger. So this is a cold anger, but still anger. So I'd like you to reflect back on a relationship, just one, where anger has been so detrimental to these relationships. Without blame toward yourself or others, just think about this for a second. Contemplate with me. Is it true that anger has been detrimental in your relationships? Maybe you can see that time, that episode. It's not all of who you were at that time, but this toxin, we call nyomo in Tibetan, or klesha in Sanskrit. This toxin was there, and it hurt you. And see if you can remember how your mind felt, how your body felt during that time. What was it like? Did you feel calm and easy in the mind? Was the mind tense? Was it focused? Tunnel vision? Like in your facial muscles, what was it like? Yeah. 上师 Simpala Mikpe Kangtrochi, qui gese sawen ejon. that the store of a bodhisattva's energy can be wiped out. All of the good karma can be wiped out with anger. Especially if it's focused, that anger is focused at a bodhisattva. Getting upset with them triggers that anger. And then perhaps they say something that you don't like, you don't want to hear, and you know, his of good things that he's done and the beautiful words that he's spoken and written. He made some comment, which is a bit of scriptural comment, but offhanded comment that in the future that you know, there will be Buddhas and they will be women and that they will be beautiful. And I had plenty of people email, and I saw plenty of comments online about this, that, you know, that, oh, he's a sexist, and he made one comment out of this is Nobel Prize winning, you know, Bodhisattva, who has literally, truly helped millions and millions of people, made one comment like that and absolutely crucified, you know, for this. All this anger, and people said, never going to listen to him, a 2-second comment. This is, people say, who would get mad at a bodhisattva? But I think many, many people did. And then, of course, there's a whole of, many Chinese, of course, have been trained to hate him, you know? So mad at this bodhisattva, who's literally here in this world to be of assistance to beings. And there's even other Buddhist groups, you know, who don't like him. It's amazing. In the middle of millions and millions of people worldwide, you know, who've taken solace. And in my life, I would even say he's responsible for my happiness. I mean, he trained me so well because I was really, and I'm not so good now, but I was really quite a mess at one point. And I went as a monk, as a young monk, and listened to his teaching and changed millions of beings. And then to see people angry at him is very, you know, for one offhanded comment. And it's like that, you know, that we can destroy our relationships with people, even really holy, sacred people, you know, with just one thought, one idea away. And that's how fragile our relationships are. And not anger in a relationship over and over again, and perhaps even with name calling or something like that, is so destructive, and hard to come back from. People, you know, it imprints in the mind, and people recall it with ease and with frequency, and you begin to lose trust in the relationship. So that's why Shantideva says that, you know, that you can destroy so much good karma. All that time building up these relationships, you know, with teachers and with lovers and with friends and family members. So getting upset, you know, is what is triggering this anger. You know, getting off balance, and it feeds your anger. You know, you feel like maybe like a wild animal or something. And it serves no functional purpose except to separate. And so we say, why don't you just stop getting upset? Why don't you just, as though it were so easy, right? It means this. Gese chusu, yunani, de la mega chiksuyu. Why get upset? And if there is nothing you can do, why get upset? So these words are from Master Shantideva. This is from the 6th chapter of the Bodhisattvas Way of Life. So let's think about it. Like right now in this situation that we find ourselves in, hopefully you're at home, and to say what we're experiencing in the world is the calm before the storm. Even with only, you know, 100,000 deaths worldwide or something. But I think that's not true. I think we're in this for the long haul right now. Very confident about that, and I think as continues, it will sweep the developing world. In the country of Liberia, for example, which has the population of Louisiana, there are exactly 3 ventilators in the entire country. In the slums of Mumbai, it's more densely packed than New York City by 13 times. This is the beginning. This is the calm before the storm. And you can try to point all the fingers at you. 8th century question. If there is, why get upset? Why get upset? You're doing what you can. You have the food, you have the medicine, or maybe you can still try to get some more. You'd be upset. It's not a ridiculous question. It's a serious one to contemplate. Have you done what you can do? Now, you ought to plan. You ought to plan. But as part of every plan, maybe you can take some notes now. Sometimes I say something. As part of your plan right now, I would encourage you to have at least as 51% of the plan that plan is not going to work out. That there's going to be, it's not going to happen the way you think. And that has to be part of your plan. And that doesn't mean not to be the case, anyway. And that's also happened to you many times. But in a world where you can't make a plan and you have to accept in your plans. And this all has to do with patience. Some things that you are going to forget to plan, and that's perfectly fine, and that's the way it goes. And that's part of every plan. Then there's worrying, anxiety, and that's not the same as planning. That is thinking about the future, not as a plan, but as a catastrophe, as a potential catastrophe. And then believing that, tragic and tragic, what happens now. Handle something, and here you are still, and this won't be any different. I'm not saying it's going to be pleasant or fun, except as a matter of patience that you can handle whatever happens, isn't it? In fact, I'll tell you when you won't be able to handle it anymore. You don't even need to write this down. Until you're dead. Even if you're, on a respirator, you'll handle everything that happens. I'm not saying that you have handled so many things that you didn't like, that were tragic and traumatic, loss of loved ones or a pet or a job, whatever, you're I didn't say you liked those things, but I said you handled it. And what happens to your whatever's coming our way? We can handle it together, and you can handle it individually. Until we cannot handle it anymore, which is. And if you accept that, what happens to your worrying? That you can handle whatever happens. So think about a worry that you have about the future. Maybe we're all out of work for a very long time, and we have to really cut back on food or something. Maybe. You like it, but can you handle it? If you're not dead, my question is, can you handle it? And the answer is yes. Of course you can. And so what is the use of getting upset then? Knowing that you can handle even the very worst of things, just as you already have. You, in fact, are a living example of a survivor, of someone who makes it through, isn't it? Now, that recognition, what happens? So there's no reason to be upset then, no? And if there's something you can do, then why worry? And if nothing you can do about it, it's irrational, it doesn't make any sense. So I would like you to think about that as contemplations every day this week. When it's not helpful, not helpful at all. You're not being informed. To us when we were monks, and I hear him say it even when he teaches now. He used to say, that we all have something, and so it is irrational then. If you don't want to suffer, you want to be happy. There's simply no point in it. I think everyone is, either aware or hopelessly unaware. Especially where I used to live in Florida, seem hopelessly unaware of what's coming their way. So But anyway, it doesn't change anything. Something productive and read and what you and maybe you don't have to think about the future even. But if you're going to be thinking, why not think about it in catastrophic ways? What is the use of getting upset? And it's a good way to shield yourself from the negative. Yeah, even in the worst of times, that terrorism in particular. And, I was reading some of the stories of those who were in the concentration of joking and laughter and ways to distract themselves in a healthy way. And I think you ought to be thinking of the same thing. You can still laugh, and some levity in this situation is very important. Don't make it your whole thing, because that's also it's not the end of the world. I think I saw one T-shirt as an example that said "Before it was cool," and I think that's an introvert T-shirt. No, right? That's kind of funny in a way, isn't it? I don't suggest wearing it. It's yes. All the time, but I think having a little bit of laughter and being will help you. Why worry? Of course, these are quotes from the Bodhisattvas Way of Life, and the Dalai Lama is always going around saying it. If there's something you can do, then why worry? Anyway, so that is my best impression of my holy teacher. I don't think His Holiness would be too upset with me right now. So anyway, that's that. But in any case, you have to be very careful, and watch with a great attention, what you're up to, right? These maybe they always come from habits, these ways of perceiving the world, the identities that we see the world through, as a mother, as a sister, these habits of, seeing things and seeing the situations in this. Our course is new habits, and only practice makes perfect. Different ways of thinking about things and seeing ways in which you perceive things. The way that you perceive is not really the way things are. It's just a mental habit that is actually difficult to work with, because it's just mental. It's not really made of anything substantive. And but it is, while not substantive, it is the very foundation you want, Anyway, positively, you can see this whole, even now, if you train yourself properly. And that's what this course is, training yourself properly, to see the world in a way that is not, there's a glass. All these streets that are empty, everywhere you go, and the roads. I mean, you could look at that and you could think apocalypse, isn't it? You could really see this as like, the whole world is caving in and apocalyptic, but there's another way. I was reading an email. Look at all the empty streets. That is a total display of love. Make contact. Go around sampling and talking to everybody. Hopefully not, right? Bet, I'd be willing to bet, perhaps unlike you, that if you could query them somehow, that I bet it is, in fact, for most people, there is an ingredient of concern for the welfare of others and the world. I think you have to start somewhere. We call bodhicitta. You have to have this. If you don't have, you can love other people. I mean, if you don't have concern for yourself, then it seems a little bit questionable about the love for others. No. So I think it's a good, at least they care about themselves, and that's a good place for us. not that hard. We can also care for them, using that as a seed, and we can grow it from there. But if you look around the roads and the stores and they're all empty, don't be afraid. You should be happy about this. That's a joyful attitude, that there's so many people clearly, but probably there's many other people who are staying at home because they have loved ones, and they don't want to spread this around. They care about people at work, people they don't even know, total strangers. They don't want to infect them, and don't want them to have the karma of being infected by them. So people are really thinking this way, and it's not a matter of way that you think matters. You want to be happy. You don't want to suffer. So of course, the world as it actually is, but the world that you see and the world that you live, perception. Patience with your perception. And I can always tell you, how you know you have it wrong, is if you can't find 10,000 different ways to look at the same thing. If you can only find one way to look at something, and you are, and also another dead giveaway that you're wrong is that you think you're right. There's only one way to see a situation, and that you are right about that situation. That's how you know you're wrong, okay? That you think you are in possession of some great fact, and other people are merely opinionated. This is called pride, and it's the enemy, of patience, the egotism that believes that their way of doing things is correct, and the only way of doing things. So I encourage you to, when it comes to patience, or frustrated or angry. I came in to teach the class today. I'll tell you something that happened. We thought it would be good to get them together because they would be best of friends. And of course, we were right about that. They are best of friends. But one of them, the cat, is doing fine. Before this class started, on this class on wonderful job the last 48 hours. He decided to pee-pee and poo-poo like right in my eyes with little puppy eyes, and he just let go, literally 1 minute before teaching this class on patience. Because I'm about to give a talk, on perception and refraining from frustration and irritation, and it rose up in me, just for a moment, like, you stupid 10-week-old dog. That a human being, an adult, rational, well-trained, I think, sometimes, not now. That's very funny, It rose up in me, and he looked at me, and you could see he was reading. It appears to be reading my facial expression, and then I started laughing, and he relaxed. And he relaxed so much that he kept going. So anyway, and what I mean by that is we have in Tibetan. Seme. By focusing on the Dharma. And so I recognize, the Dharma, that things, there's no use getting upset. Remember that one? From long thing that you can do, and why get upset if there was nothing I could do? He already went. So that is a teaching, as I said, not getting upset about things that have already taken place. That's the Dharma. So let me say it in a way that maybe you can more clearly relate with and understand. Be this way. The dog should not have done what he did. So why get upset? I think, or demand even, that reality should be different than it is. I demand pandemic, to have patience with the pandemic. Okay, to have patience. I know it sounds crazy, but to have patience with COVID-19. Reality is there is a global pandemic. More millions will be sick. Is it reality or no? Yes, it is reality. So That's not negative news. It's not positive. It's not the glass half of what's going to happen. And getting upset about it doesn't change of life. Getting angry, losing your cool about what is happening doesn't change. Make the virus go away. It's not like you. The dog is not done. I can train the dog, so there's something I can do about it now and love each other and help each other by staying isolated and alone. So there is something you can do, and you can stock up on food to a certain degree. You know, you can take care of your mind away. You will. And if my dog soils, am I saying that I want that to happen? Am I a doormat? You know, am I like a potted plant? No. I'm not going to scold him or take his nose, put his nose in it. And that's what we do. We put our nose into our own shit. No? We come up with these terrible situations and then we project ourselves into those. It doesn't, no dog. No dog shoving his face in the shit, do you? No? You want to take lessons. As we whisper to our own mind, as we come up with, one catastrophic, until we can't handle it. And that's that. I'm not saying you're going to like it, but you can concentrate on reality. Yeah. And stop your ego from demanding that reality be different than it is. That's the key. I can even show you something. Let's have some fun with Buddhism here. I'll show you a little trick called Mahamudra, okay? And so I want you to think of something that made you mad. Just think about it. What made okay? I have a question for you. If you didn't have that thought, would you be mad? That shouldn't have happened. Your ego, look at your ego in it, and you're saying that shouldn't have happened. That's what it means. You're irrational. You're saying that a situation that has happened or is happening should not be happening or should not have happened. But it is happening. And you little have that thought. There would still be COVID-19. No? There would still be a virus. There would still be dog poop on my carpet. But what if I never had the thought? And would there still be dog poop? There would still be dog poop, but I wouldn't be angry if I didn't demand my egoistic demand that it shouldn't be happening. Now, when it comes to this virus and some of the difficulties that you're facing that you just thought about, if you didn't have the thought that this is how all anger is, that there's a thought that this should not be. Now, as you can see in my dog story, it doesn't make me a potted plant because I can still, in other words, I can train him peacefully. I don't have to put his nose in it. And you don't have to put your nose in your own negative thoughts. You're not a puppy. And you're not some, crazy animal, person who's cruel to animals. And you don't want to be cruel to yourself. So this doesn't make you a potted plant. In fact, this is concentrating on it. Chula Dharma. We go further. We go further. Chepala, Jimen Yampe Supa. If someone hurts Jime Nyampe Supa, I don't care. I have a homeless kids group that I lead. online now. I can't be there with them in person, unfortunately. That's because I love them. But I see them online every week. And we just started a new group. We have a new group now that came in for this year, and we have housing for them, and they see me for mindfulness and emotional training. And this nupa, chepala, jime nupa supa, this comes very handy with them. I say that your words cannot disrespect me. I could care less about what you say about me, what you think about me. And they say, oh, is it? And I say, yeah, let's try it out. So I have them all stand up, and I encourage you now to all stand up, or if you want to sit still, that's fine. But I want you to think of me as a big fat whore. A big fat whore right now, please. Go ahead. And there'll be millions of people watching this video, believe it or not. We have a huge, big online following. And now 1 million people are going to think of me as a big fat whore because I asked them to. All right, so we'll be watching in the future. And they're all thinking of me as a big fat whore. Now I look down, not yet, maybe coming, and also not. I'm not a big fat prostitute. You know? And no matter how many people say that I am a big fat prostitute, nupa chepala, jime, nyampe suba, I could care less what they think about me because I am my own witness. I am not a big fat prostitute. I can see very clearly that's not true. I don't care how many millions of you say that, or what you say about me. It doesn't matter. I know I'm not that. Yeah, I know that I am for you what you think of me as, and that is all. So I could care less. You know, that's what it means. This is patience, isn't it? The ability not to get irritated with people's thoughts and speech and actions towards you, because your mind is concentrated on the Dharma. I know what I am, and I know what I am not. And I know that I am not a big fat prostitute. Yeah. Yeah, I am focused on this. And no matter how many people say otherwise, no one is disrespecting me, not individually or collectively. It's not possible. So I want you to think about that. Are you easily offended? Someone says something about you? I wouldn't get upset. I would go, you know what? Right, or I'm not right. So if I am a big fat prostitute and you all call me a big fat prostitute, then chances of me saying, you know what, you're right. Or I can look down and I don't even have to say anything back to you. I don't even have to disagree. I just know like something's wrong with these people, you know, something a little bit insane about them. They're called Nyumba, Inji Nyumba, crazy Western people, you know, and that's fine. You're free to think whatever you want, you know. I don't care. This is it, Nyumba, Chebala. Jime, nyambe suba. I could care less. This is patience. It's not I could care less with aversion, like I really don't care, or like what people think. In fact, I don't even care too much about what I think. So why am I going to care too much about what you think? I have, like you, I wish I did, you know? You look at you. Why you hold on to thoughts? Don't fixate too much. You know, in fact, don't fixate at all if you want to be happy. You know, these thoughts are like clouds moving through your mind, like a sky. You know, let your mind be like a cloudless sky. Yeah, that's what His Holiness Jemyon Kongtrul says. Yeah, let your mind be like a cloudless sky. Dukneo, don't do lempe suba. Whatever happens to you, like the dog, let's examine this, okay? Dukneo, which means suffering. Dondu lempe suba. So let's think. I'm glad this happened, and now I can turn this situation into something better. So this dog incident, we'll call it the dog incident, you know, it'll be famous now in our class. The pooping dog incident has made me think about behavioral modification training with my dog. And so we will, you know, get on a better feeding schedule, you know, and a consistent going outside schedule. improve my relationship with my furry friend. It's because this happened that my relationship with him will improve. His Holiness used to tell us, when he used to teach, His Holiness taught this 6th chapter on Bodhisattvas Way of Life to all of us. We were all monks in Dharamsala on the hillside. Chapter. He said, I can't teach you this chapter. And we all looked at each other and we were like, what? He said, this chapter I cannot help you with. And we said, what is he saying now? You know, what's our great teacher telling us? And what he said is very true. He said, because you couldn't even see it. And that's true, I don't see any flaws in him. He said, so I cannot teach you patience. And he said, do now, dandu lembe suba. You have to find a situation that seemed to happen, you know, that demand that reality should have been different. But after you're done being irrational, you think to yourself, I'm glad this happened because this is my opportunity to make something better. That's our way. This is Bodhisattva's way of life. How a Bodhisattva thinks. Very different than an ordinary person, no? You know, we call so-so kiwo. Say, repeat after me. So-so? So-so. Kiwo. Ordinary being, you know, not a Bodhisattva. You know, they just get very upset whenever reality happens. They get mad all the time, you know. Even a little, you know, they can't, their Netflix, you know, Netflix should be faster. You know, the internet should be faster, you know. All of us with, you know, gray hair. What are we going to do now, you know? You know, and then everyone who thought, you know, they acted like online, you know, on what you call social media, Facebook and Instagram, like they had all the money, you know, and they going, you know, and they didn't really have any savings. It was all used to show and make a big show of themselves. As you know, it's only when the tide goes out. And here we are, sitting nakedly in our own residence, with our own thoughts. And this is the measure of who you are. There's nothing to be angry about. In fact, I encourage you to be happy that this has happened. If you want to be a bodhisattva, if you want to really turn your mind around and stop being a so-so kiwo, an ordinary, infantile, childlike person. Even as an adult, you can be a child. It's different. My mind differently. Don't argue. Right now, it's not good for you. You turn this situation that you find ourselves in. A minute, please, and contemplate. How can you turn your mind? You can do this. Isn't it true that you can find, not out of sarcasm, please, which is just another way of being angry about this. Can you turn it in such a way, listen to this one, can you be glad that this has happened? Yes or no? Think it through. Can you be glad that this has happened? So that now you can turn the situation into something better. Come on, Bodhisattvas, you have to concentrate now on reality. Your mind is flexible and porous. This has happened to us, happened to you. Come on, care less with me. These are the 3 kinds of patience. Glad that this has happened, you can turn it into something better. You can concentrate now on patience, not being irritated. Every opportunity that you feel irritation, these are your practices, this everything. And this will help you to sleep better, no? Just like I said in the beginning. You won't be thrown off balance. Your body will not experience the primary stress hormones or adrenaline and cortisol, epinephrine and norepinephrine, things that are the corollaries for most major cancers. nice, no? We're focusing on Buddha here, Jangchu, Buddhahood, enlightenment, recognizing its own nature under the influence of loving kindness and compassion itself. Its own projections, under the influence of love and compassion that it Jangchu Simke. This is bodhicitta. This is what you take refuge in. When I say Sangye Chudan Sogi Chotnam La Sangye, Song Sangye Chudan Sogi Chotnam La Zhanshu, you hear it? Zhanshu. That means enlightenment. That's what this is all about, is waking up and seeing how you are responsible for your projections, you're responsible for your emotions 100% of the time. This is the Bodhisattvas way of life. It's also known as empowerment, and is disempowering to think that events are responsible for your emotions. You are responsible for the way you feel. This is what patience is. Your ability to wake up and not blame events, not blame others for whatever situation you find yourself in. There's always a way to see it differently. And if you get mad, it's irrational. And so now it's up to you to look at it differently, to see it differently. So I think that's enough for tonight. You have contemplations. I will put on my Facebook page and our prayers and aspirations, so we can do them together next week. We'll take it nice and easy as we get started, but I'd like to welcome you again to our community mindfulness meditation centers, and hope that you're with us next week, or perhaps you have something better to do next Tuesday night. I have an idea that you'll be home. So it's either me or Netflix. Hopefully you're not drowning yourself in unnecessary things. But please do get our text, the Padmakara text, if you can afford it. It's about $10 online. The Way of the Bodhisattva, this red book. There's a blue book and a red book. The red one is the one I'm using. And Padmakara translation, the author is Shantideva, which means in Sanskrit, the angel of peace. The angel of peace. And if you want the teacher's edition, if you want to keep up with me, then you can get the Nectar of Manjushri's speech. The Nectar of Manjushri's speech. It's, I think, weighs about 2 pounds. I think very good investment, you know, and in terms of sheer pounds of wisdom, you know, if you wanted the teacher's manual. And it's by Kunzang Pelden, Kunzang Pelden, also by the Padmakara Translation Group, and also published by Shambhala. And it is, Kunzang Pelden was Patrul Rinpoche, one of his main students, went with him everywhere. So he was kind enough to take down the words of his perfect teacher and make it available for us more than 100 years later now. So thank you for joining us this evening, and I'm very, very pleased that you're with us. And it's only appropriate at the end, I'll teach you one thing. Whenever you hear a Dharma teaching or meditate or contemplate like this, it's only appropriate if you can then think about anything that you have gained from tonight's class, tonight's meditation, contemplation, and you can think about other people in the world right now who are not as fortunate as you, who do not have these mental tools, and they're suffering physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, so much suffering. And whatever good things may have happened from being here with me tonight, wherever you may be, or watching this recording later, please think about those people in whatever energy that you can that have been derived. Imagine big inhalation, please, and exhaling all of this energy, this meritorious energy, love and kindness and compassion toward those beings who are suffering. May they be free. May they be happy. May they be well. May they be safe. And imagine if you could, breathing in their suffering. If you could take it away, this is the Bodhisattva's attitude. If you could take it away, breathe in. If you could take away the pain of their world, the world that they see, that you would do so. Not necessarily that it's possible, but if you could, that you would. This is the Bodhisattva's way of life. This is how we think. It's how we behave. It's how we speak. It's a training. Something that you can do because it is a training. Mind training, lojong. Now we dedicate this intention, this energy to the welfare of all beings. And by this merit, may all obtain omniscience, and may it defeat the enemy, wrongdoing, from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara, may I free all beings. This dedication was also written by Master Shantideva. So, thank you all for joining us this evening. It's a pleasure to have you. And if you have questions, you can email. You can ask questions next week. You can Facebook message, whatever you wish. And I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. And for those of you who think I'm a big fat prostitute, I don't care. So that's that. Okay, anyway, thank you very much for being here. And hopefully you also, in the midst of this difficulty, you had a good time tonight and you learned a few things. And remember, your main thing is that there's nothing that you can do, why worry? And if there is something that you can do, why worry? Thank you so much. Yeah. How are you doing?